Okay, here we have another machine that needs some work. This is a Konami winding heat driving game. The main problem, the monitor's got quite a few issues that need resolving, so we'll just switch the machine on and have a look at the monitor and so you can see what's wrong with it. Now, I can't say if you can see, but basically you can see it needs degaussing in the top left hand corner, which is quite purple. Another thing you'll see when the screen goes white is, there you go, you see how it changes size when the colour changes. That's kind of indicating poor HV regulation. Another thing you might not be able to tell is the screen is about 2/3 of the height that it should be. There's actually a black border at the top and quite a significant black border at the bottom. That's not down to adjustment. What that is, it looks like, I haven't actually tested on the bench yet, but it looks like the vertical offset voltage is probably missing, so that's something that needs looking at as well. So another thing you should be able to see is that the display is curved and nothing straight on it, it's all bent, and that's a clear indication it probably needs a few capacitors replacing. The other thing is, I don't know if you can see some sort of flickering to it. Now you see that a lot with cameras when you're filming screens, but that is actually flickering that you can see with the naked eye. That's kind of indicating probably needs a new filter capacitor. Yeah, let's just show that screen again. There we go, that does not look very good at all. Okay, I've just made up a partial jammer loom for the winding heat PCB. I'm not actually sure if my test bench monitor can do medium res, as I've not tried it in a long time. It might have been a different monitor last time I tried it, but anyway, I'll give this a go. Right, let's just give it a power up, see what happens. Oh, it's actually working. Oh. Yeah, looks like the game won't boot up without the analog controls connected, so I think I'll probably just put a potential divider across the analog inputs and 5V ground, see if that gets it to boot. Right, I've made a small potential divider circuit taking 5V ground, putting through 2.4K resistors into the 3 AD channels, and that should make approximately 2.5 volts onto each of those channels, and hopefully the game will be fooled into thinking it's connected up to real controls. Let's fire up, and hopefully better results this time. Fantastic, that's working. Right, I'm going to get the scope out and test out the sound section now on these PCBs, see which ones have actually got sound working, which haven't. Right, the scope is hooked up to one of the sound outputs, and this is clearly not good. It's on 2 volts of div, so that's about 4.5 volts steady coming out. There's no sort of any sign of an audio signal, that's just a 4.5 volts coming out of the speaker outputs. Kind of explains why there's no sound. I was going to separate the boards and have a go at removing the amplifier on this one, but some complete moron has superglued the connector joining the two boards together so they can't be separated without me actually desoldering these connectors and replacing the entire connector. Oh, some people need a license to work on PCBs. Okay, originally I thought the audio amplifier might have been the fault, but it wasn't that. It's actually this Konami custom pack here, which appears to contain a DA converter, 2 OP amps, and some capacitors and other general components. I actually managed to get another one of these off of a completely dead winding heat board, which probably wasn't savable because it had a lot of rust and corrosion on it. So I've put that in, I've gone into test mode to do sound test, and I can see a proper looking audio waveform at last. I haven't actually tried it with real speakers yet, but that looks like it's very likely it's going to work now. Okay, I've just discharged and removed the anode cap using my 40 kV fluke discharging probe, connected up to my spare Unitrend meter. You don't really see much charge on these U5000 monitors, but it's always worth doing anyway, just in case. I'm just going to remove the chassis now and then get it onto the bench. So the chassis is a Wells Gardner U5000 and it has probably about 10 different manufacturers worth of capacitors on here. Just some sort of mismatch of cheap nasty capacitors. Okay, I've replaced all the capacitors on the chassis now with brand new Panasonic high quality capacitors, including the filter capacitor. A couple of interesting issues I found along the way was this capacitor here was actually installed the wrong way round, so I'm surprised that didn't explode. And this one here, which is now a 220, which is the correct value, that had a 10 UF capacitor in there, so that will have had a negative effect on things. I also resoldered these wires here because whoever fitted this repair mod originally did a really bad job of the soldering. It was virtually hanging off. I replaced Q602 here, which is responsible for the offset voltage for the vertical size, and I did some track repairs on the neck board. There were a couple of weak tracks here, so I've put some wire links on and one there as well. Okay, let's see if it works. Another thing to note is the anode cap is also quite dirty. Best way to clean these is a little cap full of isopropyl alcohol. I've got a little nylon brush. I'll basically brush it in, remove all the dirt and then wipe it clean. The isopropyl also softens the rubber up a bit, which is a good thing as it helps the cap stick onto the monitor tube better. Okay, before I fit the monitor chassis back in, I'm just going to clean the anode cap with some isopropyl alcohol as it looks a bit dusty. Right. The monitor chassis has now been reinstalled, so let's just turn off the lights on that end and we'll switch it on. Oh, yeah, there we go, picture. Well, that's massively better. As you can see, no more border at all at the top or the bottom. The edges look a lot straighter. The regulation looks better. There's less shifting between colours. And the jumping and flashing on the text is gone as well. Zoom out a bit. Yeah, there's still a slight shift when it goes to the white screen, but it's definitely a lot better. Little corner there needs degaussing manually, as it seems like there's permanent magnetisation in that corner. Okay, that's looking pretty good. This will be the most annoying part of the job, to actually get the cage out and replace the PCB. Lots and lots of connectors and about a zillion screws holding it into the cage, if I remember rightly. Some previous person cut the fans off. Those are just the 12 volt lines, or it might be 5 volt actually, for fans that should be here that aren't. But it's never operated for days at a time, so I don't think it gets hot enough to really matter that much, to be honest. Yeah, time to get this stupid cage out. The game board has been swapped now, so I'm just going to power it up and see if it works. Fantastic, sound's working. Let's see if I can just start the game. Play it one-handed.
Select course. Beginner's course. Select course. Select new course.
not exactly easy to play looking through a camera. I'll just show you the force feedback.
What do you think you're doing?